The ultimatum. Admiral Mason Harris stood proudly on the bridge of the Imperial flagship, Eternal Dominion. Through the massive view screen, the blue-green planet called Earth grew larger as they approached. His meticulously pressed uniform gleamed under the ship's lights, medals and insignia reflecting his century of devoted service to the Galactic Empire of Arcturus. "Magnificent, isn't it?" Harris said to his executive officer. Another jewel for the Emperor's collection. The Empire had conquered or absorbed over 300 star systems in its 1,000-year expansion. Some civilizations had fought briefly before surrendering. Most had simply welcomed the Empire with open arms, eager for the technology and protection it offered. None had successfully resisted. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission from the planet," announced Communications Officer Julie Bennett. Harris smoothed his silver-streaked hair and adjusted his posture. First impressions mattered when dealing with primitive species. On screen, a stern-faced woman appeared on the display. Her dark hair was pulled back tightly, and her blue uniform bore minimal decorations compared to the Admiral's elaborate regalia. "This is Director Olivia Carter of Earth's United Nations Security Council. State your purpose in our system." Harris smiled indulgently. "Director Carter, I am Admiral Mason Harris of the Galactic Empire of Arcturus. We come bearing friendship and an invitation. The Emperor himself has approved Earth's admission into our glorious empire. Consider yourselves fortunate. Many worlds wait decades for such an honor." Carter's expression didn't change. "Admiral Harris, Earth appreciates your visit, but we must decline your invitation." The bridge fell silent. Harris blinked, certain he had misheard. "Perhaps I wasn't clear," he said slowly. "We're offering you membership in the greatest civilization in the galaxy. Your people will gain access to technologies beyond your imagination. Imperial protection. Trade routes spanning hundreds of worlds." "We understand what you're offering," Carter replied. "Our answer remains the same. Earth chooses independence." Harris felt his face grow warm. In his entire career, no one had ever rejected Imperial membership. It was unthinkable. "Director, surely your leaders don't fully comprehend. Our decision was unanimous. Admiral, all nations of Earth stand united on this matter." Harris leaned forward. "You realize the Empire could simply take your world by force." For the first time, Carter smiled. It wasn't a friendly expression. "You could try." She gestured to someone off-screen, and the display changed to show what appeared to be a satellite view of the Imperial fleet. Every ship was highlighted, their positions precisely marked. Data streamed alongside the image, displaying power outputs, crew estimates, and weapons capabilities with disturbing accuracy. "We've been monitoring your approach since you entered the Orc cloud," Carter explained as the image returned to her face. "Our solar system is off-limits to Imperial forces. Any unauthorized entry beyond the boundary we're transmitting to you now will be considered an act of war." Harris fought to maintain his composure. How had this primitive planet tracked his stealth ships? Earth wasn't supposed to have detection technology that advanced. "You're making a grave mistake," he warned. "No, Admiral. You would be making a grave mistake by underestimating Earth. We've transmitted our terms. You have 6 hours to depart our system." The transmission ended abruptly. Stunned silence filled the bridge until Executive Officer Peter Grant cleared his throat. "Your orders, Admiral." Harris stared at the planet on the view screen. It looked so fragile, so isolated. Yet something in Director Carter's eyes had unsettled him. "We withdraw to the designated boundary and observe," he decided. "Send a full report to Imperial Command. The Emperor will want to handle this unusual situation personally." As the fleet began its retreat, Harris couldn't shake the feeling that this small blue planet would prove far more troublesome than anyone in the Empire could imagine. Captain Nathan Ellis stood at the command center of the Earth Defense Force flagship, Defiance, his eyes fixed on the tactical display. 6 months had passed since Earth's rejection of the Galactic Empire, and the waiting game was finally over. Multiple FTL signatures detected at the edge of Neptune's orbit, reported Sensor Officer Diane Russell. 12 vessels. Configuration matches Imperial Scout-class warships. Ellis nodded. Intelligence had predicted this, a probing force to test Earth's defenses before committing to a full invasion. He tapped his communicator. This is Captain Ellis to all Earth defense stations. Battle stations. Activate protocol sentry. Throughout the solar system, hidden defense platforms awakened from dormancy. Satellites previously appearing as space debris suddenly powered up. Mining stations transformed into weapon emplacements. Imperial vessels are moving into formation, Russell announced. They're launching fighter craft and powering weapon systems. Ellis watched as the Imperial force split into 3 groups, approaching from different vectors. Their movements were confident, almost casual. Clearly, they expected minimal resistance. "They still think we're primitive," muttered Commander Frank Wilson, standing beside Ellis. Ellis smiled slightly. "Let's correct that assumption. Activate the grid." Across the solar system, Earth's defense network hummed to life. Years of secret preparation were about to be tested against the galaxy's most powerful military force. The lead Imperial vessel fired the first shot. A bright pulse of energy directed at what they believed was a simple communication satellite. Before the beam could connect, the satellite shifted position with impossible speed, and the shot passed harmlessly into space. "They missed," Wilson said with surprise. "No," Ellis corrected. "We moved." Earth's defense systems incorporated technology unlike anything used in the Empire. Quantum positioning systems that allowed nearly instantaneous microjumps without full FTL activation. The satellites seemed to flicker and dance as Imperial targeting systems failed to lock onto them. "Defense grid fully operational," reported Weapons Officer Heather Collins. "Gravitational disruptors charged and ready." Ellis touched his command console. "Fire countermeasures." From Earth's defense platforms erupted not lasers or missiles, but invisible waves of concentrated gravitational distortion. The Imperial fighters suddenly found themselves pulled in multiple directions, their hulls groaning under forces they weren't designed to withstand. 3 smaller craft imploded immediately. On the main view screen, Ellis watched as confusion spread through the Imperial formation. Their neat attack pattern dissolved into chaos as ships struggled against the gravitational weapons. "Sir, the largest vessel is preparing to fire their main cannon," Russell called out. "Target their emission ports with phase torpedoes," Ellis ordered calmly. The Defiance launched 6 torpedoes, weapons developed using principles discovered in Antarctic ruins decades earlier. Unlike conventional explosives, these weapons briefly shifted their targets into an alternate phase of reality before violently returning them to normal space. When the torpedoes struck the Imperial flagship, portions of the vessel simply disappeared, leaving jagged holes where weapon systems had been. The ship listed dramatically, leaking atmosphere and debris. "Imperial vessels are retreating," Russell announced with barely contained excitement. 9 ships attempting emergency FTL jumps. Only 7 succeeded. 2 exploded as damaged engines failed during activation. "Prepare boarding teams," Ellis ordered. "I want prisoners and intact computer systems from that disabled vessel." Hours later, the captain stood face to face with the captured Imperial officer, a pale, silver-haired woman whose uniform identified her as Commander Vessa. "You should have joined us peacefully," she said through clenched teeth. "This was merely a test. The Empire will send hundreds more ships next time." Ellis studied her with calm determination. "Then tell your Emperor something from Earth. We passed our test." Did the Empire pass theirs? As the commander was led away, Ellis gazed at the stars through the viewport. The real war, he knew, was just beginning. Intelligence Officer Samantha Wright ran her fingers across the strange symbols glowing on the screen. For 3 days straight, she had worked to decode the captured Imperial database. Now, as the translation program finally broke through the encryption, her eyes widened. "This can't be right," she whispered to herself. The terminal room in Earth Defense Headquarters was quiet at 3 a.m., perfect for the revelation unfolding before her. Wright scrolled through file after file of Imperial records mentioning Earth, records dating back thousands of years. She reached for her communicator. "This is Wright. Get Dr. Murphy and Director Carter down here immediately. Authorization priority 1. 30 minutes later, Director Olivia Carter and Dr. Alan Murphy, Earth's leading xenorchaeologist, stood behind Wright's chair, staring at the screen in disbelief. According to these records, Wright explained, pointing to a particular section, Earth wasn't recently discovered by the Empire. They've known about us for millennia, but were forbidden to approach. Forbidden by whom? Carter asked. Wright pulled up another file. A civilization the Empire calls the Precursors. They quarantined our entire solar system approximately 50,000 years ago. Dr. Murphy leaned closer to the screen, his gray beard nearly touching the display. The timing aligns with several unexplained evolutionary jumps in human history. But why would an advanced civilization isolate us? Wright switched to another document. Because they saw something in humans that frightened the Empire. Potential, the records call it. The Precursors believed humanity would develop along different technological paths if left undisturbed. Different how? Carter asked. The Precursors apparently left technology caches throughout our solar system, Wright explained. Buried on Earth, Mars, hidden in the moons of Jupiter and Saturn. They contained advanced knowledge, but presented in ways that would guide our development along alternative principles. Dr. Murphy suddenly straightened. The Antarctic ruins, the Martian caverns, the structures inside Titan. We've been finding these caches for decades, thinking they were left by different alien visitors. They were all from the same source, Wright confirmed. And we've been building on their principles without even realizing it. Carter walked to the window overlooking the nighttime lights of New Geneva. That's why our quantum phase torpedoes and gravitational disruptors were so effective against the Imperial scouts. Their ships weren't designed to counter weapons developed along these alternative principles. There's more, Wright said quietly. The Precursors visited Earth many times during our early development. They may have even accelerated our evolution. Dr. Murphy nodded slowly. Ancient myths across human cultures describe gods who came from the sky, taught humans knowledge, then disappeared with promises to return. He laughed softly. My colleagues called me crazy for suggesting those myths had a common, extraterrestrial source. The Empire fears us, Wright continued, bringing up another file. These messages between Imperial Command show they're desperate to bring Earth under control because they don't understand our technology. They're afraid we'll continue developing it and eventually threaten their dominance. Carter's expression hardened. So this isn't just about adding another world to their collection. They're trying to contain what they see as a threat. Exactly, Wright agreed. And there's something else. These star charts show systems the Empire avoids, places they believe contain other precursor technology caches. If we can reach those before the Empire, we could gain even more technological advantages, Carter finished. She straightened her uniform and took a deep breath. Dr. Murphy, assemble your best researchers. I want everything we've found from these precursor caches reanalyzed with this new context. Officer Wright, keep digging through that database. As Carter left the room, Wright turned back to her screen, the ancient symbols casting a blue glow on her face. Somewhere in these files was the key to humanity's mysterious past, and perhaps their future among the stars. Grand Marshal Victoria Reeves slammed her fist against the polished table of the Imperial War Council. The assembled officers flinched at the outburst. These humans have humiliated the Empire, she growled. 12 ships destroyed or disabled by a species that hasn't even colonized beyond their own moon. I demand authorization for a full-scale invasion. The War Council chamber sat atop the Imperial Palace on Arcturus Prime. Through the vast windows, the sprawling capital city stretched to the horizon, a testament to the Empire's 1,000-year rule. A hasty attack would be unwise, countered Chief Researcher Daniel Foster, adjusting his spectacles. Unlike the military officers with their decorated uniforms, Foster wore simple gray robes that marked him as part of the Science Directorate. The humans possess technologies we don't fully understand. Technologies that, I remind you, defeated our best warships. All the more reason to crush them now, Reeves insisted, before they grow stronger. Ambassador Gregory Walsh cleared his throat. The chief diplomat's ornate robes rustled as he stood. If I may speak, honored colleagues, military action should be our last resort. Earth represents a unique opportunity. Their technological path differs from our own. An alliance could benefit the Empire far more than conquest. Alliance? Reeves scoffed. They rejected our generous offer of membership. They insulted the Emperor himself. Perhaps our approach was flawed, Walsh suggested calmly. We arrived with warships and demands. The humans clearly value their independence. A more respectful diplomatic mission might yield different results. Foster nodded enthusiastically. I support the ambassador's proposal. My scientists are eager to study Earth's technological developments, particularly their gravitational manipulation systems. The debate continued for hours, growing increasingly heated. The military faction demanded immediate action to restore imperial honor. The scientific faction argued for patience and study. The diplomatic corps pushed for renewed negotiations. Finally, the massive doors at the end of the chamber swung open. The arguing voices fell silent immediately. Emperor Xalius VI entered slowly, his golden robes flowing behind him. Though over 300 years old, thanks to imperial life extension technology, he appeared no older than 50. His eyes, however, held the weariness of centuries. All present knelt as the emperor took his seat at the head of the table. I have listened to your counsel through the palace monitoring systems, he said, his voice surprisingly soft. All raise your eyes and attend my decision. The council members looked up cautiously. Earth presents a unique situation. The emperor continued. In 1,000 years, no world has successfully resisted imperial expansion. No world has possessed technology unknown to our scientists. Earth has done both. He turned to Reeves. Grand Marshal, prepare your forces, but hold them in reserve. Next, he addressed Foster. Chief Researcher, compile everything we know about Earth's unusual technological development. Finally, he faced Walsh. Ambassador, you will lead a diplomatic delegation to Earth. Offer them autonomous status within the Empire, something we have never before granted. They may maintain their independence while gaining access to imperial knowledge and protection. Walsh bowed deeply, and if they refuse, your radiance. The Emperor's expression darkened. Then Grand Marshal Reeves will have her invasion. As the council dispersed, Reeves approached Foster in the corridor outside. Your scientists have 3 weeks to provide me with countermeasures against Earth's weapons, she said. I don't intend to fail when my time comes. Foster adjusted his spectacles nervously. The Marshal seems confident the diplomatic mission will fail. Ambassador Walsh overheard as he joined them. Perhaps, he said thoughtfully, but I studied Earth's history. They're a fractious species that has spent millennia fighting among themselves. If we offer the right incentives to the right factions, we might not need to conquer them at all. As the three parted ways, none noticed the small maintenance drone hovering nearby, its sensors recording every word for transmission to a receiver far beyond Imperial space, a receiver on Earth. The massive Imperial diplomatic vessel, Hand of Peace, drifted into orbit around Mars. Unlike the warships that had entered the solar system months before, this ship featured minimal weapons and extended observation decks. Its hull gleamed gold and white, designed to impress rather than intimidate. Director Olivia Carter stood inside the Martian diplomatic facility, watching through reinforced windows as the Imperial delegation's shuttle descended. Behind her, a dozen Earth representatives from various nations waited silently. Remember, Carter said without turning, they come offering what they consider a generous compromise. They cannot comprehend why we would refuse Imperial protection. The Earth intelligence officer beside her, Samantha Wright, nodded. Their spy drones revealed their true intentions. This is just a formality before they launch their invasion. Carter smoothed her formal uniform. Then let's make sure they reconsider that plan. The Imperial delegation entered with practiced grandeur. Ambassador Gregory Walsh led the procession, flanked by Imperial guards in ceremonial armor. Behind them came scientists, cultural advisors, and military observers. Director Carter, Walsh greeted with a deep bow. The Emperor himself sends his personal regards and his sincere desire for peaceful relations between our civilizations. Carter returned a measured nod. Earth welcomes the opportunity for dialogue, Ambassador Walsh. The formal exchange of pleasantries continued through the initial meeting. Walsh presented ornate gifts, technological marvels meant to demonstrate Imperial superiority. Carter accepted them graciously, while offering simple items representing Earth's cultures in return. When they finally sat at the negotiation table, Walsh revealed the Emperor's offer. Autonomous status within the Empire, he announced proudly. No other world has received such an honor. Earth would maintain self-governance while gaining Imperial protection and access to our vast knowledge networks. And in exchange, Carter asked. Walsh smiled. Merely allow Imperial observers on your planet, share your unique technological developments, and acknowledge the Emperor as your symbolic sovereign. Carter leaned forward. Ambassador Walsh, we appreciate the Empire's interest in Earth. However, we cannot accept these terms. Walsh's smile faltered. Director, perhaps you don't understand what we're offering. The Empire spans hundreds of worlds. Our technology is thousands of years ahead of yours in most areas. We could crush your planet with overwhelming force. Could you? Carter asked quietly. She tapped a control panel on the table. A holographic display appeared above them, showing Earth from orbit. As they watched, a shimmering blue field began to appear around the planet, growing until it formed a complete sphere. This is Project Aegis, Carter explained, a planetary shield based on principles derived from precursor technology. Walsh's face paled at the mention of precursors. Behind him, the Imperial scientists whispered urgently to each other. We've been aware of your spy drones, Carter continued. We know the Empire plans to invade if diplomacy fails. But consider this demonstration carefully. She tapped another control. In the space between Mars and Jupiter, several Imperial unmanned probes suddenly appeared on the display, their stealth systems somehow defeated. Your observation vessels have been cataloged, Carter said. Now watch. The display showed a pulse of energy expanding from a hidden Earth facility on Europa. When it reached the area where the Imperial probes operated, they simply stopped moving. Several began drifting, powerless. We call this a quantum entanglement disruptor, Wright explained, speaking for the first time. It selectively interferes with technologies based on Imperial principles. Your FTL drives, weapons systems, and communication arrays simply stop functioning within its radius. Ambassador Walsh struggled to maintain his composure. These demonstrations are impressive, but the Empire is not the only power in the galaxy, Carter interrupted. Intelligence Officer Wright, please share what else we've discovered. Wright activated another display showing star systems far from Earth. These are human colonies, Ambassador, established secretly over the past 50 years using precursor jump gate technology. The Empire never detected them because they don't use conventional FTL signatures. The room fell silent as the implications became clear. Earth wasn't just defending itself. It had already begun expanding beyond Imperial detection. The Imperial Grand Council chamber fell into chaos as Ambassador Walsh's report reached Arcturus Prime. Emperor Xalius VI sat motionless on his throne while his advisors shouted over one another. Silence. Grand Marshal Victoria Reeves finally bellowed, her voice echoing off the ornate walls. The room gradually quieted. The humans have made fools of us, she continued. They've established colonies beyond our detection. They possess shield technology that can protect an entire planet. Their weapons disable our ships without destroying them. She turned to face the Emperor directly. We must strike now with overwhelming force before they grow stronger. Emperor Xalius raised a hand, silencing further discussion. Prepare the Armada, he said quietly. 300 warships. Our best troops. Every super weapon in our arsenal. He looked around the room. And absolute secrecy. If the humans detect our preparations, we lose the element of surprise. As the council dispersed, none noticed the small maintenance drone in the corner, identical to thousands of others that kept the Imperial Palace functioning. Transmit a tight beam signal to a stealth relay hidden in orbit around Arcturus Prime. Commander Lisa Hoffman studied the holographic display in Earth Defense Force headquarters beneath the Rocky Mountains. Dozens of signals pulsed across the three-dimensional map of the galaxy, each representing an Imperial military installation accelerating its activities. They're gathering a massive fleet, she told the assembled Earth leadership. According to our infiltration units, over 300 warships. They'll likely attack within 2 weeks. Director Carter nodded grimly. Can Project Aegis protect us from an assault of that magnitude? Dr. Murphy shook his head. The shield would eventually fail under sustained bombardment from that many ships. We need a different approach. Captain William Parker stepped forward, a tall, lean man with a perpetual 5 o'clock shadow. He commanded Earth's small but elite stealth fleet. Director, I have a proposal. Rather than waiting for them to attack, we strike first. An attack on Arcturus Prime would be suicide. General Ben Crawford objected. Parker smiled slightly. Who said anything about attacking their homeworld? I'm suggesting we target their staging areas. He manipulated the holographic display, highlighting 7 locations throughout Imperial space. Our intelligence drones have identified these assembly points. The Imperial fleet is gathering here before launching their coordinated attack. What do you propose? Carter asked. My stealth ships can deploy quantum entanglement disruptors at each location, Parker explained. We can't match their numbers, but we can ensure their ships never reach Earth. Hoffman nodded in agreement. It's our best option. Even with our advanced weapons, we can't defeat 300 warships in direct combat. After hours of debate, the Earth Security Council approved the plan. 7 of Earth's most advanced vessels, ships smaller than conventional destroyers, but incorporating the most sophisticated precursor-derived technology, prepared for departure. Captain Parker addressed his fellow commanders before they boarded their separate ships. This mission requires absolute stealth. If even one of us is detected before reaching our target, the entire operation fails. Remember your training. Trust your technology. The Empire still thinks they're dealing with primitives. The Imperial staging area near Rigel buzzed with activity. 60 warships had already assembled, with more arriving daily. Admiral Mason Harris, now commanding the Empire's 3rd Fleet, watched from his flagship as another dreadnought dropped out of FTL. 224 ships assembled across all staging points, his executive officer reported. We'll reach full strength in 3 days. Harris nodded in satisfaction. The humans are formidable, but they've never faced the Empire's full might. Their shields and disruptors won't save them. As he spoke, an undetected Earth vessel silently positioned itself at the edge of the staging area. Inside its specialized launch bay, a single quantum entanglement disruptor activated, its energy signature masked until the moment of deployment. Captain Parker's voice transmitted simultaneously to all 7 Earth vessels at their respective targets. Deploy on my mark. 3, 2, 1. Mark. Throughout Imperial space, 7 disruptors activated simultaneously. At each staging area, Imperial ships suddenly lost power. Emergency systems failed. FTL drives went offline. Communication arrays fell silent. On his flagship, Admiral Harris watched in horror as his mighty fleet became nothing more than metal hulks drifting helplessly in space. The Imperial invasion had ended before it began. The news spread through the galaxy like wildfire. the mighty Galactic Empire of Arcturus, ruler of 300 star systems for a millennium, had suffered a crushing defeat without firing a single shot. Their grand armada, assembled for the conquest of a single defiant world, now drifted powerless through space. Emperor Xalius VI sat alone in his private chambers, the usual attendants dismissed. For the first time in his 300-year reign, he faced not merely setback, but defeat. On the screen before him, reports flooded in from across Imperial space. The Sirius Confederation had declared independence. 3 systems in the Orion sector had overthrown their Imperial governors. Planets that had been loyal for centuries now refused to pay tribute. The Empire was crumbling. A soft chime announced a visitor. Grand Marshal Victoria Reeves entered, her usually immaculate uniform showing signs of hasty dressing. "Your Radiance," she began, kneeling. "We must act quickly. Rebellions are spreading. If we crush 1 or 2 examples, the others will." "With what fleet, Marshal?" the Emperor interrupted. "Our main force is disabled. The humans have demonstrated they can neutralize our technology at will. Then we build new ships, develop countermeasures. The Empire has faced challenges before." The Emperor turned away. "Leave me. I must consider our options carefully." On Earth, the United Nations Grand Assembly Hall was filled beyond capacity. Representatives from every nation gathered to witness a historic moment. Director Olivia Carter approached the podium, the applause deafening. When silence finally returned, she spoke clearly into the microphone. "Today, we announced the formation of the Sol Accord. Not an empire, but an alliance of free worlds committed to mutual defense and respect for sovereignty." Behind her, a massive display showed the Earth, its 7 secret colonies, and 12 formerly imperial worlds that had requested membership in the new alliance. For too long, the galaxy has lived under imperial rule, where stronger worlds dominate weaker ones, where technology is hoarded rather than shared, where diversity is crushed instead of celebrated. The Sol Accord offers a different path. As she spoke, smaller meetings took place throughout the galaxy. On New Terra, the oldest of Earth's secret colonies, Ambassador Gregory Walsh, who had defected after witnessing Earth's power, met with representatives from 30 independent systems seeking protection from Imperial retaliation. On Arcturus Prime itself, a growing resistance movement shared banned transmissions of Carter's speech in hidden underground gatherings. Admiral Mason Harris stood on the bridge of his partially repaired flagship. Of the 60 vessels under his command at the Rigel staging area, only 12 had managed to restore basic functions. His once proud Third Fleet was now little more than a battered escort squadron. "Admiral," his communications officer called, "we're receiving a transmission." It's from Earth, sir. Director Carter is requesting to speak with you personally." Harris straightened his uniform. On screen, Carter's face appeared before him. "Admiral Harris, we meet again under different circumstances." "Have you called to demand our surrender, Director?" Harris asked stiffly. Carter smiled slightly. "No, Admiral. I'm offering you a choice." She explained the principles of the Sol Accord: mutual defense, technological exchange, preservation of cultural independence, and democratic governance. "The Empire is collapsing, Admiral. You know this. Your ships can barely function. Your Emperor has no answers. But you have options." Harris studied her face carefully. "You're inviting the Imperial fleet to join you. After we tried to conquer you." "Not as conquerors or conquered," Carter replied. "As equals. Your experience, your knowledge of Imperial space, your leadership, these would be valuable to the Accord. In return, we offer your crews and their families citizenship in a new galactic society, one built on cooperation rather than subjugation." After Carter's image faded, Harris stood silently, considering her words. Throughout his career, he had faithfully served an empire he believed brought order and advancement to the galaxy. Now he wondered if Earth's approach might achieve what 1,000 years of Imperial rule had not. Behind him, His crew waited expectantly for orders. "Set course for the Sol system," he finally commanded. "Minimum power. Contact the other fleet commanders who can still receive transmissions. Tell them I'm going to hear what Earth has to offer." As the remnants of the Imperial Third Fleet began their slow journey toward Earth, Admiral Harris gazed at the stars. For the first time in his long career, he was heading into completely uncharted territory.